from the height of wisdom and wealth to the end of his reign. What God said to Solomon. How did Solomon manage to deal with 700 wives and 300 concubines and still find time to rule an empire? How could someone with so much wisdom, wealth, and power let his life become so complicated? It almost seems impossible, doesn't it? But as he gave himself over to this endless pursuit of pleasure and status, something began to slip away. What seemed to be the key to happiness was, in fact, digging his own downfall. What really happened to Solomon? What did he do to lose control over his own destiny? Stay with me until the end, because the answer might surprise you, and it may show that what we often seek to fill our lives can be the very thing that leads us to fall. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to receive more videos like this one. Let's dive in. Solomon was at the height of his power. The kingdom of Israel had never been more prosperous. Everything he touched flourished. Trade routes thrived. The royal treasury overflowed with gold. Silver in his days was as common as stones, the Kings 10:27. Just imagine, shields of pure gold, thrones carved with lions, chariots imported from Egypt, ships bringing treasures from distant lands. Solomon lived like an emperor, and the problem wasn't the gold, nor the fame, nor the power. The real issue was his heart. The Bible says that over time Solomon loved many foreign women, Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites, women from nations God had warned Israel not to intermarry with because they served other gods. And what's most astonishing is that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. He shows Kings 11:3. These women not only influenced his political decisions, but also turned his heart away from God. He began allowing pagan altars, building shrines to foreign gods like Ashtoreth and Molech. And little by little, he drifted from the God of Israel. And look at what the Bible says clearly and directly. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God. As Kings 11:4, this is perhaps the most painful part of the story. The wisest man in the world stumbled on the most basic thing. The one who had received everything from God began to give room to deception, vanity, and spiritual compromise. Then came judgment. God was angry with Solomon, and he said, "Since you have done this and have not kept my covenant, I will surely tear the kingdom away from you. Nevertheless, for the sake of David your father, I will not do it during your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son." 1 Kings 11:11-12. In other words, Solomon wouldn't lose everything while he was alive, but his legacy would suffer a great rupture. What took decades to build would begin to fall apart shortly after his death. And why? Because outward success cannot sustain a divided heart. Solomon didn't fall because he lacked wisdom, but because he lacked watchfulness. This part of the story is a powerful warning for all of us. It doesn't matter how long you've walked with God. If you stop nurturing intimacy with Him, your heart will grow cold. And when the heart drifts away, the enemy draws near. Solomon lived intensely. He had everything most people only dream of: riches, palaces, worldwide fame, absolute power, 1,000. Women, celebrations, art, architecture, music, philosophy. But when he reached old age, all the grandeur began to lose its shine. He started looking back, and then he wrote one of the most profound and philosophical books in the Bible, Ecclesiastes. Right in the opening lines, he cries out with the voice of his soul, "Vanity of vanities." Says the preacher, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Ecclesiastes 1:2. Yes, the same man who wrote Proverbs now declares that without God, everything is meaningless. Solomon describes his search for meaning. He says, "I tried laughter. I embraced wine. I built great houses, planted vineyards. amassed silver and gold. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. Ecclesiastes 2. And what did he conclude after all of that? All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. In other words, he had everything, but none of it truly fulfilled him. Wealth faded, pleasure lost its taste, fame became distant, and his heart only found peace when he returned to the starting point, God. Solomon closes Ecclesiastes with one of the strongest declarations in the Bible. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. Ecclesiastes 12:13. This is the voice of a man who had seen the top of the world and realized that heaven is higher. It's the confession of someone who got lost, but had the courage to write, so that others wouldn't be lost too. But this isn't the end. The stories and teachings of Solomon have transcended generations and remain relevant even to this day. The book of Proverbs is a manual, a guide that has inspired leaders and writers around the world from the time of his reign until today, and will continue to inspire throughout eternity, for these are divine and timeless teachings. If you're already subscribed to the channel, activate the notifications so you won't miss the next videos, where we'll dive chapter by chapter into the book of Proverbs, a true immersion into Solomon's wisdom. It's a very special invitation, and I hope you enjoy it.